Hey everybody. So I'm doing some more Discord requests as quickly as I can. Also guilded requests in case I get kicked off of Discord too, just for existing, essentially. Leftist tech is scary. But anyway, so yeah, we got another request from somebody who's on the channel quite often. And actually, they're known as Gobbericool, or they're also known as No Running in My Lobby, who's one of my moderators. So that being said, he's also a member. That being said, he takes precedence because he's actually paying me for this video. That being said, let's get into it. Okay, so this is from MIKEBURNFIRE. A Neat gets taken down a peg. Soldiers use the wrong oob. Sheep in the big city. First Sergeant, damaged firearms, campfire stories. All right, let's check it out, shall we?
Did I ever tell you about the two people I met in Iraq who were sergeant, lieutenant, and lieutenant sergeant?
No, I don't think so.
I met two people in Iraq who were part of a completely different company, and their names were lieutenant sergeant and sergeant lieutenant. And they were decent friends, and they would just hang around with each other all the time, so that when someone was like lieutenant, they would both turn around and go, "What?"
We had somebody who's last.
You know, that's kind of funny. That's kind of funny because I had a soldier a long time ago whose last name was Major. And then I believe a couple of years ago, he actually made Command Sergeant Major. So now, he is Command Sergeant Major. And then when he first got E5, everybody just ribbed him forever for this one. Everybody got really deep into him for it, just because of his last name. Like, it was worse than mine. Mine, you can misspell it one way, and it's human expelled liquids. But for him, like when he got his books aren't right, you know, and everybody would say Sergeant Major. For the longest time, people would turn around and be like, "Wait, Sergeant Major where?" And those of us in the know, we'd just be laughing our butts off the whole time because everybody else is freaking out because Sergeant Major is apparently here. But it's not that Sergeant Major, it's Sergeant Major. That's his name. Anyway, let's continue.
Last name was Major. It was a sergeant. He was Sergeant Major.
Oh, that's fun. That's a good one.
Those funny little.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Watch, he's the same dude, too. I'm going to hear about this, like, sometime later, and they're going to be like, "Hey, wait a minute. Y'all knew him, too?"
Little names, like from the cartoon show. You had Private Public and General Specific.
That was from Sheep in the Big City. I remember that show.
You remember that show?
Oh, man.
There's like 3 episodes of that show, maybe.
There were quite a few episodes of that show, but I if I remember correctly, wasn't the premise of the show like this general was trying to capture the sheep for a sheep-powered laser gun?
I think so.
It was like something like that.
Anyway.
I don't think anybody else.
I have the whole box set on my shelf.
I remember when it was on the What a Cartoon show.
They've got a sheep mattress. I remember that show.
They've got a sheep Daikamura.
They have a sheep Funko Pop.
For some reason, the company I was in, for a while, we didn't have an actual first sergeant. We had an acting first sergeant, and this acting first sergeant was actually a master sergeant.
I feel like that's how it was for me, too. There was a role that was supposed to be occupied by a first sergeant. They just didn't get around to putting one there, and it was occupied by a gunnery sergeant.
Yeah, this happens quite often. You know, either people don't make rank. And it also really depends on the unit as well. So, like, for the units, like, I've been in units where my sergeant major, my acting sergeant major, was a master sergeant. And then my first sergeant was a sergeant first class. He was just the senior most sergeant first class in the company, right? So, yeah, that's how that stuff worked. And then we had, like, you know, we had staff sergeants as platoon sergeants, and then book sergeants as squad leaders, which, I mean, that it actually did work out pretty well, because back then people were a lot more competent, a lot more self-sustaining. You know, guys took initiative more often than not. Nobody was scared of doing what needed to be done, right? There wasn't all this red tape and other kind of bullcrap, right? Everybody was focused on the mission and the job. Everything else was secondary, right? So yeah, and then we got a lot of stuff done, much better. And then I've been in units where they had full roster. They had staff sergeants who were, well, staff sergeants that were the squad leaders. And then buck sergeants as team leaders. And then a sergeant first class as platoon sergeant. And then, an actual first sergeant as a first sergeant in the first sergeant position, who performed like absolute crap. And they were all about yelling and screaming and not actually doing the job right. They were just about blaming everybody else for their failures as leaders. Which, yeah, you can imagine that sucks. But yeah, this stuff does happen quite a bit.
So we had an interim first sergeant. I'm just going to name him First Sergeant Bob. He would insist that everyone referred to him as First Sergeant, even though he wasn't actually he was an interim First Sergeant.
Yeah, First Sergeant wasn't his rank, it was his role.
It was his role.
He's not actually the First Sergeant, he's just the First Sergeant, you know what I'm saying?
So he insisted everyone refer to him as First Sergeant, which is understandable.
Is it understandable? It's kind of like when military wives say, "You will refer to me by my husband's rank."
Yeah, no, you're just some bitch. Why don't you get your hands off of my car? I was at this pump first.
I didn't mean to send you down this flashback.
I just want to get some gas, buy 5 packs of cigarettes, and go home.
So many times I've told dependas to just F off, essentially, but in a professional way, right? They'd be like, "You didn't salute me," and blah, blah. "Look at the sticker on my husband's truck or SUV that's brand new that I made him pay for it. 28% freaking interest." Just like a dumbass private. And, I would say, with all due respect, ma'am, you are a civilian. You are not owed, nor are you given to any courtesies or customs that are supposed to be given to your husband. Have a good day, ma'am. And I just leave it at that. And I get reported so many freaking times because of that kind of stuff, right? I got reported so many times, and then every time they would be like, "Oh, well, you addressed my wife wrong." And I'm like, here's the AR, here's the subsection, here's the appendix to the subsection, and here's where all of it says, "Sir," or "Senior NCO." I don't have to acknowledge your dependas for shit. I'd always win that fight because I'm going by the AR. Sure, a few times they try to get me for unprofessional conduct, apparently. But here's the thing. I was respectful. I didn't swear, cuss, or curse. And, I just told them, "Look, I am not obligated to do so." And that's what happened. And then hilariously enough, about a year after, because I was doing a specific detail because we had a high threat level. So myself and my guys, we were essentially doing gate guard, but we were also acting QRF or QRU for the post. QRU is like quick reaction unit. So instead of just a force, it's a unit. So QRF is like, I don't know if they make this distinction everywhere. It's probably just post specific, because on most posts they'll call it a QRF or something like that, or an SRT, special response team. But that's actually specifically MPs that have an SRT. But yeah, we were both a QRU, and we were also supplementing the gate guard. And since I was the senior most guy who was at the gate, I had to do a lot of leader things that I didn't much enjoy at a gate. I didn't really enjoy it. Any juice. So yeah, like we were doing QRU and stuff, and there were so many dependas who would come through every day, and they'd be like, "Oh, you don't have to search my vehicle because my husband outranks you." And I'm like, that has no bearing on the situation, ma'am. This is actually a requirement that has been put into place by this memo by someone who outranks your husband. So take it up with them, please. Or you would get the ones who are like, why didn't you salute me? And it's like, can I see your military ID, ma'am? You are not obligated any of the customs and courtesies given to non-commissioned officers or commissioned officers in the United States military, ma'am. Have a good day. But yeah, about a year after that, some division commanding general, like some CG there, then made a memo and a post specific, it was either a post specific like post regulation or something like that. Also going over the head of the post commander, because the post commander and the CG are two totally different people. To where soldiers at the gate, if it was dependa or not dependa, had to salute and everything else, which is just ridiculous. Just stupid. Absolutely stupid. But what do I know? Let's keep going.
My husband's a first sergeant. I don't give a fuck, lady. I actually don't care. Anyway, he was acting first sergeant, and he took it kind of far. Mm-hmm. So we have this formation, and one of the soldiers passed out because it's very hot. And First Sergeant Bob goes over to him and starts yelling at him for passing out. Instead of just being like, hey, I understand it's fucking hot. Basically goes over and starts chewing this dude out.
How dare you be unconscious?
How dare you pass out? Well, once the guy woke up. Goes over and starts chewing the dude out. And the guy says, Roger, Master Sergeant. And he flips shit and says, I am a fucking first sergeant. You will refer to me as a first sergeant, blah, blah. And starts going off on it. And the guy's like, he doesn't have first sergeant rank on. Why on earth would I refer? Anyway.
It might be the rank on his lapel, but that's not his rank.
Most of the people in his company did not like this first sergeant.
I don't know why not.
I actually had met him when he was
screaming at me at the gas pump with his wife.
I had actually met him when he was in E6, like long before the deployment.
Staff sergeant.
When he was a staff sergeant and he was about the same size as I am. And then he came back from deployment and his arms were as big around as my thighs were. Because this was at a time when the Army wasn't really monitoring steroid use. Anyway.
Are they doing that now?
Yeah. So anyway, he's yelling at this soldier and everyone in our company, because this soldier is not in our company. He was in like the formation next to ours.
Okay.
So he's yelling at some soldier that one, isn't even in his chain of command. And two, insisting that he is a rank, which he is not.
Right.
As he's yelling at them, the sergeant major of the infantry battalion comes over and grabs him and is like, you are not a fucking first sergeant.
Oh.
You are not a fucking first sergeant. You are in the position of one. That does not fucking make you a first sergeant. Yeah. If I'm in the position of a warrant officer, that doesn't fucking make me a warrant officer. Mm-hmm. Don't you fucking tell him to call you what fucking rank you're not. I will get you for impersonation of a non-commissioned officer.
Damn. You gotta love it when a sergeant major like that takes command.
Made him stand at parade rest.
Made the first sergeant stand.
Made the first sergeant stand, because the first sergeant...
The acting first sergeant.
The acting first sergeant. Because the moment he came over and started yelling at him, he's like, yeah, but I, and he goes, you shut the fuck up and stand at parade rest. Just fucking rips into him.
Oh, man. You gotta love good sergeant majors, man. You gotta love it. They're just not scared. Oh, man. But this dude who's an acting first sergeant, who doesn't have the rank of first sergeant, is way out of line, and he's what I refer to as a guy with rank. And he's someone that I would never give any respect or any type. I wouldn't even acknowledge his existence outside of his position or rank. So, pay your dues to the rank and position, but you can hate the daylights out of that individual that holds it, right? And I've had plenty of those. And they're what I refer to as guys with rank. And a few times I've told them to their face, because they're the same types that'll try to intimidate you with that rank and position and power, which goes completely against the non-commissioned officer's creed, right? The NCO's creed goes entirely against it. In fact, they don't obey any part of the NCO's creed whatsoever. They're all in it for themselves. And so they're the same types who are going to try to pull you aside as a junior soldier or a non-commissioned officer of any kind And they're going to be like, oh, well, you want to act this way? Well, guess what? I can ruin your whole career and crush your life entirely and your soul. And I would straight up tell them, how about F you and let's take it to UCMJ. And more often than not, I'd win. I'd win because I'm within the regulation. And on top of that, you know, they are completely going against the non-commissioned officer's creed, which is actually, it actually used to hold water back in the day. Nowadays, it's just something you memorize to just pass a board. But back in the day, you had to live that shit, right? And these guys with rank, they would lose when it came to UCMJ. They would lose severely because I wouldn't just make it to where it was only he and I involved. I would make sure that I informed everybody at every level of the chain of command and the NCO support channel that this is what is going on. Here are copies of all the sworn statements. Here is what he tried to do. Here is what he told me. And I involved every single level of the chain of command in it. Because if I'm going to take this big of a risk, just doing the right thing, which even back then it was a big risk. If I'm going to take that big of a risk, I'm getting everybody involved. And a couple of times I've actually made it go all the way up to the CG. The freaking CG. Because at the battalion level, they tried to squish it and say, nope, you're just wrong because my rank says so. And I'd be like, okay, then I'm notifying you right now, Colonel or Lieutenant Colonel, and I address them by their rank, that I am informing you as of this moment that I am exercising the open door policy to talk to the Command Sergeant Major of the division and the division commander. You have been notified, according to regulation. And they would just be fuming because they're like, how dare you? My rank. And I'm just like, I don't care. I don't. Sure, you're going to make my life a living hell putting me on all the details. But here's the thing, is that I've been doing this so long, and I've actually been in the dirt and trenches longer than most of y'all. So I just don't care. You can make my life a living hell. I really don't care about that part. I mean, you know, it's whatever. But yeah, and quite often I've won. I've won quite a few times just because of that. Trouble is that not all soldiers know how to properly and correctly, you know, fix any type of situation like this where they're dealing with a guy with rank. They don't know how to properly do it. And so that's why I tell guys all the time, okay, get to know your Army regulations. Get to know your military regulations, right? That are not branch specific. Get to know UCMJ. Know your chain of command. Know your NCO support channel. Know who does what specifically for whom and why and with whom. Also, that matters. Because there are good old boy like chains of command and NCO support channels. There are. There most certainly are. And they will try to take advantage of that to make sure that you're squished or you're crushed under that weight. And that's why the open door policy needs to be taken a lot more advantage of. A lot more. But anyway, let's continue.
I had several disagreements with this man.
I don't believe you. He sounds like a great guy.
I got in an argument with him at one point because when you have a gun, think of the thing that you're aiming through, whether that's an optic or iron sights or whatever it is. Think of that as a laser.
Okay.
And also think of the bullet as a laser. Right now. When you are aiming at an object, the bullet is going to come out in a straight line and the laser is going to come out in a straight line. Think of them as two completely parallel lines. When you zero the iron sights or the optic or whatever, what you're basically doing is making those two lines intersect at a specific distance. I got in a disagreement with this first sergeant because he was insisting that when you fire an M16, the bullet is going to come straight out of the barrel and then the bullet will rise up into the air and then go back downwards.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I was saying, no, because when you zero the gun, you're basically making the barrel go up slightly on an incline so that it's zeroed for a specific distance. Mm-hmm. So yes, the bullet will go up, but it doesn't rise in. They're not like airsoft pellets. They're not like paintballs. They don't have hop up on them that makes them go up and then down. They just go in a parabolic arc. And I got in a long, drawn out, protracted argument.
About parabolic trajectories?
About parabolic trajectories. He was insisting that all projectiles go up and then down. Even if the barrel is on a completely flat plane, the bullet will go up and then down. And I was like, no, they don't do that. The reason they do that is because the barrel is angled up slightly. Because that's how you zero a gun. So I got in a long argument. That was one of the many arguments that I got in. One of the things you need to know about helicopter operations is that there's generally 3 people that are in charge of a helicopter. You have the pilot, the co-pilot, and the crew chief. If you are interacting with a helicopter, especially like a cargo helicopter, you're basically never going to talk to the pilot or the co-pilot.
Just the crew chief.
The crew chief is pretty much the only person you're going to interact with.
He's the liaison.
He's the one that, quote, owns that helicopter. On that helicopter, he is God. He is the one in charge of everything on that helicopter.
Okay.
We're getting ready to ride on helicopters from one place to another place on CH-47s. And we're getting on the helicopter, and First Sergeant Bob is going around telling people where to sit. He's basically micromanaging the hell out of everything.
Acting like he's the chief crewman?
Acting like he's the crew chief. Like, yeah, put this here, put that thing there, put that thing there. And this crew chief comes up and is like, hey, don't put that there. Basically just, no, don't do that thing that you're doing. First Sergeant Bob looks at his rank and goes, don't tell me what to do. I'm a first sergeant. The crew chief looks at him and goes, get the fuck off my helicopter.
He kicked the acting first sergeant off the helicopter.
At which point this devolved into an argument between the two of them of, I don't have to listen to you, you're a staff sergeant. And then...
I don't have to listen to you, you're a gunnery sergeant or whatever.
I don't have to listen to you, you're a not first sergeant. Well, I don't have to listen to you because you're not a first sergeant either. He wouldn't have known that. That would have been funny. Anyway, they start getting into this argument, and eventually the crew chief and like 2 other people have to come up and be like, no, get the fuck off the helicopter. If the crew chief says to get off the helicopter, you get off his fucking helicopter.
He must not have known it was the crew chief.
I guess not. I don't know how he didn't know, but anyway, he got in an argument with the crew chief. The crew chief kicked him off the helicopter, and he couldn't fly out for another 3 hours. Because the crew chief basically went to everyone that was in that flight block and was like, yeah, don't let this guy on the helicopter, make him go on the next one.
Okay.
If he's going to mouth off to me, he'll probably mouth off to you.
Well, thank you, Zach, because by relaying this information to me, I now have a plan if I ever get drafted and sent out to war. Just piss off all the crew flight chiefs.
Yeah, you could just piss off all the crew chiefs, though I think then they would probably just court-martial you or something.
Hey, I'm trying to get out to the war, but I mean, these guys don't want to fly me. They're being real jerks about it.
Yeah. Anyway,
I like to imagine I'm just doing that and I get promoted and people come by. I'm like an 8-month veteran of doing this.
Just been doing it over and over and over again. Just really, really using that sham shield.
Oh, man. And yeah, he's absolutely right. The crew chief is literally God on the bird. Okay? He is. What he says goes. Even commanding generals have to listen to the crew chiefs. Yes, commanding generals. Because he owns that aircraft. So yeah, just, man. Bub, oh, bub. What a guy with rank.
You say sham shield, but I'd be like an E7 or an E8.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Anyway, we went on a whole tangent about First Sergeant Bob and being a goober.
Who wasn't actually a first sergeant.
I think he went to Fort Leavenworth.
Fort Leavenworth is a prison.
I think he was part of a massive embezzling scheme that the sergeant major of the support battalion that I was technically a member of was running.
He was smuggling out first sergeant insignias.
When they went to the Velcro ones, he was smuggling those out.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Guys with rank, I swear.
We had a guy in my company that was one of the PLL clerks. He's basically one of the people that, like, orders parts, but he was an E4. They kept trying to promote him to other things. He just straight up was like, no, I don't want it. No, I don't want it. Oh, you want me to re-enlist? Yeah, I'll re-enlist. But no, I don't want to get promoted. Mm-hmm. And somebody was like, why do you keep re-enlisting if you don't want to get promoted? He's like, I'm just doing my 8 years so that they can't hold me in for any longer.
Oh.
He was being really smart about it. He was like, no, don't promote me. I like the exact position I'm in. Mm-hmm. I'm not getting promoted. I will straight up refuse to be promoted.
I didn't realize you could refuse to be promoted.
I don't know specifically how he was doing it, but yeah, he basically was just like...
I'm gonna fail my physical fitness scores, so you can't promote me.
No, actually, now that I think about it, he was probably doing the exact same thing I was doing, which is, oh, we're sending you to Warrior Leaders course. Nope, can't go. Can't do it. I'm busy. I'm busy that day. I got too much work to do.
Fixing guns, sorry. Because you didn't want to get side promoted to corporal.
God, no. That would have been awful. I would have been absolutely miserable. If they had made me in charge of the entire battalion small arms repair, and I was in charge of like 5 soldiers, I would have fucking killed myself.
Would have been difficult to keep tabs on those 5 soldiers when you're also stuck in the armory.
I was not an armor. I was the small arms repairman. There is actually a difference. So basically, there's 4 levels of working with weapons in the military. 1 is operator, 2 is armor, 3 is small arms repairman, and then 4 is like manufacturer.
So they bring you the guns when the armorer can't fix them. You're the armorer's armorer.
I am 1 step above armors.
Something very technical that most people aren't trained on, you could fix.
Yes.
You got the hard jobs.
Yes. So I was not responsible for just one company's worth of weapons. I was responsible for an entire battalion's worth of weapons.
Yeah.
And then also keeping enough parts on hand to be able to fix all of the weapons in that battalion. My end goal was keep any weapon from being completely deadlined for more than 1 day.
How often would you say you kept that goal?
Most of the time I was able to do it.
Were there any guns that were particularly mangled that you were like, this is going to take about 2 weeks, maybe 4?
On the 50 cal machine gun, basically you could adjust the timing by opening the back plate of the gun and then undoing this little screw. You could make it fire theoretically faster. You're not actually making it fire faster. You're making it fire earlier when the bolt is closing.
I will take your words on these.
Which, yes, it does make the gun fire faster, but it also means that you can have an out-of-battery detonation, which on a 50 cal isn't exactly a good, happy thing. But because making it fire earlier makes it fire faster, you get a bunch of infantry that goes, ha-ha, machine gun go brr, and they unscrew it all the way and then blow up their machine gun.
So those are weapons you can't fix very easily.
Yeah. The worst I've seen where a weapon was deadlined for, permanently. So the Mark 19 grenade launcher gets real hot. It's a fully automatic belt-fed grenade launcher. It weighs like 80 pounds. It's meant to be on a tripod or on a vehicle mount or whatever. It very explicitly says in the manual that you are only allowed to use LSA or LSAT lubricant in it.
And do not use anything else. Use nothing else at all. You have been warned.
Okay.
You are not supposed to use CLP.
Yes, yes. Good old CLP.
You are not allowed to use CLP in this grenade launcher.
But every Marine and soldier knows how to use CLP. We've all got it. It's so easy. It's such a useful lubricant.
You're only supposed to use LSA. They went out to a range with a Mark 19, and the gunner of the Mark 19 decided to use just whatever lubricant he had on hand.
Hey, lube is lube.
The Mark 19 caught on fire. This fully automatic grenade launcher burst into flames.
The lubricant caught fire, did it now?
Yes. I don't know how it damaged this machine gun that badly from just it catching on fire, but the whole thing, it looked like it had been in a house fire. I don't know if like the vehicle caught fire or something, but the whole machine gun, it was melted. Completely melted.
Neat.
And they were like, yeah, can you fix this? No. There's no way I can fix this. This has to be decommissioned and cut up and turned into scrap now.
Gotta dermo it.
The amount of times that people got mad at me because I could not fix their weapon was just absolutely astonishing.
They just got used to you being a magic man, working miracles.
No, I think it was just that it meant that they had to do something now.
Oh no, I'm gonna get in trouble if he can't fix it. Fix it!
I would have people bring me M4s, and sometimes the unit armor would bring the person whose M4 it was. There were a couple times where I straight up was like, yeah, you bring me the person that did this so that I can yell at them.
I want to figure out how they did this. This is impressive.
That's how I found out about the M4 that the barrel was bent in half, because they'd slammed it in the door of an up-armored Humvee multiple times.
I slammed my barrel in the car door.
There were a few times they were using simunitions, and you were supposed to use a completely different, like, upper receiver for these specific simunitions. But they would just fire simunition through a normal barrel, and the entire barrel would get filled up with basically wax bullets, which ruins their barrel forever.
Yeah.
I can't fix that. So they would bring it to me and be like, hey, I need you to fix this. All right, well, I have to swap out your barrel. There's literally nothing else I can do except swap out the barrel.
Yep,
so I'd start taking their gun apart to rip the barrel off it. Hey, am I going to have to re-zero my gun? Yeah, of course you are. Why do I have to re-zero it? Oh, what? Do you know how long it took me to zero that gun?
Oh, man, this sounds like your average, infantry kind of struggles nowadays. That's what it sounds like. Although more often than not, troops will find anything to really like gripe about, honestly. But here's the thing is that officers and senior non-commissioned officers get very, very worried and very scared very quickly when the lower enlisted stop grumbling about anything at all. So yeah, it's preferable, idle hands do the devil's work, essentially. So, in my first unit, if we were not doing weapons maintenance, or we weren't going over some kind of like TM or FM, or if we weren't preparing something to go and do other stuff, like we weren't doing some kind of prep, PCCs, PCIs, PMCS, right? Something like that. If we weren't doing something like that, we were training. We'd get out the weapons, practice mag drills. We would get out the weapons and make sure the weapons were zeroed. We'd make sure that they were bore sighted. We would make sure that they were functioning correctly. We would do the weapons checks, right? We were doing anything and everything to keep busy and sharp consistently. So back then, more of the gripes were about like, oh, come on, man. Like, I really want to go home to my wife, or I want to go home to my girlfriend, or, like, hey, I want to go game with the boys or something like that, right? I want to go hang out at like TGI Fridays or some shit, or go over to Steven's house or something, right? Or just go and, whack around, right? That was more of the gripe back in the day. Nowadays, it sounds more like everybody just complains about the job entirely. like there's nothing else that they're complaining about. So, yeah. But hey, it sounds right. This tracks.
Should took you like 5 fucking minutes, bruh. What the shit?
It should have, but he's not that smart.
There were a couple times where people broke them in really stupid ways, and they were like, hey, am I going to have to re-zero my gun? I would just be like, nope, you're fine. Don't worry about it. Go into combat, it'll be great.
And they'd probably take you at your word, not realizing you're being sarcastic.
I don't care. This is not my problem. That's their chain of command's problem for not making sure that their gun is zeroed.
Mm-hmm. I guess.
All right, there we go, folks. There we go. MIKEBURNFIRE. First Sergeant, Damaged Firearms, Campfire Stories. It tracks. It tracks. But yeah, what did y'all think? Y'all let me know in the comments down below, okay? A lot of, I kind of like MIKEBURNFIRE because, every time I hear him talking about stuff, it's like a nostalgia trip for me because I spent so long in the Army. So, yeah, I enjoy it. But what did y'all think? Y'all let me know. All right, y'all know what time it is. You like me. You like MIKEBURNFIRE. You like Campfire Stories. You like my content. You like his content. You like the combination of the two. Then please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Then hit the real subscribe button called notification bell so you get videos when I post them up, possibly. Or better yet, get into the Discord. Link will be in the description box down below. That's the best way to get notified when I do anything, and it's the best way to be able to talk to me about anything. And I also have extra links on there in case, I also get deleted from here. Because I recently got deleted and banned and nuked from Facebook and Instagram without explanation or warning. Locked out of everything, and they're going to deactivate everything in 30 days. So, yeah. Can't really Can't really do much about that, so I got extra stuff I could do. That being said, be good. Be safe. Make your left for your sales. And I will see y'all in the next one. BlastCapBadger out.